Hello, everyone. I'm Austin Light with American Demon Comics, and I'm joined by my friend Brandon Ingram with Dismay Comics. How are you doing this morning?
Doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Was Had to message Austin. Was like, can we bump it back 30 minutes? Because there were just random things that came up this morning.
We had
Overall, pretty good.
we have some friends that live a little distance away, and we went to their house last night and ended up staying the night. And so I kind of had to navigate getting up on time, but giving us enough time to sleep in, and then
Oh yeah,
the
yeah,
drive home. Uh, but yeah, and I've got laundry going, so
yeah.
it's a busy day. Um, but Brandon, you're Gallows Man in 6 days, and I don't think we're doing a show next Wednesday.
Right,
Um,
right.
I'll be going to the convention and probably making sure that we have the right things packed and get trying to get the house squared away. Wednesdays are my day off, so
Yeah, yeah,
um, if I can do all the things I need to do on Wednesday rather than Friday, um, it'll help. So
yeah. Not have
next
that
week we
crunch
will.
time right before it.
Oops. Next week we'll be on a hiatus, which might not be noticeable because I could post this episode next week
Yeah, yeah,
and then we continue from there. But for the viewer, the way our schedule's working, it's gonna be a free week next week. So that means this mention of the Gallows Man. Now these horns are bothering me because it's really loose. Um, is starting in 6 days, and we won't be going over that right off rip. But when I return, it will have been going for a few days, be almost a week, and we'll get to kind of go over the progress of that. Um, but I'm excited. I'm gonna get
yeah.
me some Gallows Man finally. I didn't get it in the at the convention last year. I got the Dismay Avenue and the um, I don't think I got anything else. I got the Dismay Avenue and I've got Tales from Town City. So and that was a fun read.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I really like doing this comic. Issue 3 we've talked about before. It's like 2 years in the making, and there's like multiple reasons for that life things with both me and Helen, the artist, really the person that does the pencils, inks, colors, lettering, and then even sometimes like promo stuff, like little bookmarks and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So she does a lot. Like it's a lot to do. Um, but yeah, we've been trying to get it just right, and I
That's a lot of work you get
talk.
out of an intern.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, we've been trying to get it just right, and it's also 60 plus pages, like 57 pages of story. It's like 60 interior sort of thing. So it's like it's a staple bound small graphic novel basically. Um, and yeah, I've talked about it before, maybe in the last episode or the episode before, where uh, I've improved since I first started the Gallows Man. Since Gallows Man #1 that came out, the Kickstarter for that was May of 2021, but we finished that like end of 2022 or like beginning of, or not end of 2022, end of 2020, beginning of 2021. Um, so it's been 3 years in between finishing that and finishing this one, and the reader might not see uh, a ton of difference. I think you will in a good way. You'll see like, oh, like they've both improved their craft, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying like issue 1 and 2 isn't good. I think issue 1 and 2 are very good, but we're just getting better and better at it. Um, so yeah, I'm excited for it. The Kickstarter campaign, the page is completely done. The trailer is done. That got finished last week and stuff. So now it's And I've also like sent out emails and all the YouTube people and TikTok people and all that stuff. I've already done all that, so now it's just kind of like sit and wait until like I have a show on
Which is great.
Saturday. Yeah, oh yeah. No, that I don't feel rushed the last week.
Yep.
That is perfect for me. Like
Yep. So that's a when you when you get into doing this Kickstarter, you want to be having it already thought out and
yes.
made, and so you have some decompressed time, because when it comes time for it to launch, you're going to be trying to push it.
That whole 30 days, you're just like, it's not. I mean, I'm not trying to like discourage people from doing a Kickstarter, but it's going to be stressful.
Mhm.
Like in terms of like not entirely like, oh gosh, like oh, it's just like you're doing a lot. That's what I mean by the stress is you're going to be doing a lot of stuff. If you want it to be successful, you'll be doing a lot of stuff.
What have I done?
What have I done?
I've got so much money. Oh no.
Yeah,
oh man, it's not like it makes you rich, but
no,
it's just
by no means.
It was a funny outlook on it with that.
Oh yeah, like we've all felt that if you've done any sort of Kickstarter or crowdfunder stuff, like you feel like oh gosh, like at least let's talk about the goal thing. You might feel a little stressed with the goal at some point. That's why I set my goals low, because I know I'll surpass them and double them, if not triple them.
Lower expectations.
Exactly. like I've been going back and forth in my head with this. I think I'm going to keep it low. It was like 750, and I was like, maybe I'll do 1,000 for the goal. But like I keep going back and forth. I'm like, I just do 750. Like I know I can clear 750 within the first 72 hours, probably sooner than that. But I feel almost like 99% guarantee can clear 750 in the first 72 hours. And then by the end of it, I am again 99% sure that it'll hit 1,500, if not more. If it hits beyond 1,500, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
My in head goal is 1,500. If it surpasses that, I'm happy. So
yep. So
yeah,
that's awesome. Looking forward to that, and excited to get my hands on some of those older Gallows Man, and it would be interesting to see that growth between both of you. Working together.
It's definitely there, and it's not jarring at all for a reader. Me personally, being a creative and stuff, like I've seen other indie creators, not just like Kickstarter stuff, where it's like someone comes out with a book every year, and you see that development and growth of them. I've seen that. I've also seen it in like the big companies. I've seen like a person I really like, a writer or an artist I really like, come out with a book through Image or a book through this company or that company, and look at that book, then look at a book 2 years later or whatever, and you see a development, especially if it's like their first book with a big publisher, their first work with a big publisher, and then see their work with a big publisher 2 or 3 years later. You see a difference, and it's not like a bad thing, like, oh, that old work doesn't look as good or whatever. It's more like, no, I see the appreciation, I see the growth of the artist, sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And that's on September 10th. Gallows Man #3 Kickstarter starts, and you can go check that out on Kickstarter. You can follow Brandon at Dismay Comics on Facebook and Instagram, and he's always posting updates on both of them. So it shouldn't be too hard to track them down. I usually have links in these videos and past videos, so it's go make sure you pledge and get you digital copies, physical copies,
there's
bonuses,
a little
and stretch
bit of
goals.
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything. tiers range from $1 to $199. That's like original art bundle sort of stuff. It's like original art, a crap ton of books, all that sort of stuff. But you can always just get like digital copies and stuff that are like $7, and you can get like if you live not in the United States, I recommend digital copies. If you have to have the physical copies, get them. Uh, just know, like, you already know. If you live in Canada or Australia, you already know our shipping to you is outrageous. Um, it's not us; it's our post office. Our post office is ridiculous. I think it's our problem. I don't think it's other countries' problems, because I've had someone ship original art from Greece, and so it's a big long box, and their shipping was less than $12, I think.
Wow.
So
Well, that might be
if
their
I
currency comparison.
that was the
Like it
conversion.
might have been more. It might have been more in their currency to them, as it would be, because our dollar
Maybe.
is worth
Yeah,
so much
maybe.
more.
That's possible. That's possible. At the very least, so our shipping is too expensive. So
Yeah. Yeah.
regarding international shipping, so if you are buying it, if you gotta have the physical books, get them. But if you're international, I recommend digital stuff, because I have Galsman 1, 2, 3, Tales from Town City #1 as a digital bundle, and it's $18. So you get like 200 something, or nearly 200 pages of comics, $18 sort of thing. But yeah, there's also all the physical tiers and stuff like that. But
Now let me ask you this. Well,
yeah,
um, if you have a digital reward tier, but you meet stretch goals that have physical rewards, how does that get to somebody if they only pledged for digital stuff in another country?
my stretch goals, I clarify in the stretch goal part that stretch goals are, and I put them as levels because it's just easier for people to read it essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, my stretch goals are for physical backers only. Um, it's just
Gotcha.
easier for me to do it that way. So
Yeah.
if you want the little bookmark, you want this, you want that, it's got to be physical backing. Um, but that's how I do that. It's a lot simpler, and honestly, it's cost effective, because it's one of those things. It's like someone from Australia gets the digital copy, the $7 digital copy. I it doesn't make sense for me to put like a poster and a bookmark, ship it, and shipping that's going to cost me at least $10, almost
Yeah.
definitely more. Uh, so it's like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
at that point, it's like
It's
we're
good for people, if you're doing this, put caveats in,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
specify, be transparent about those
yeah.
kind of things. Because you don't want to ever uh, omit something or go
Yeah,
back
yeah,
on your word about something. So
yeah,
smart move there by Brandon.
yeah. Stretch goals, especially with physical ones. Now you can always have digital stretch goals, and that can go to everyone, sort of thing. But physical stretch goals always have it to where physical backers. It's just in the end going to make more sense, because if you don't do that, you're shooting yourself in the foot, and you're not making money on your project.
Right.
The money you make is to buy the materials to ship to them, and then you also might have some money left over to buy some extra books for yourself, for conventions, as well as
Mm-hmm.
future Kickstarters for like catch up bundles and stuff like that. But if you shoot yourself in the foot and don't price stuff right, or do something like that where it's physical stretch goals for people that back digitally, um, you lose all of that money to buy the material. To where at that point you're essentially paying for people to have your book. Like
Right.
you're going in the negative for people to have your book. It's good to at least break even with
Right.
a Kickstarter.
All right, Brandon. So this isn't something that we've gone over yet. This is something on my part that I had needed to look over, but it's our comic for Halloween, our mini comic. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. So let me note it. Let me note a few things. So the print quality and the color quality has come out awesome. Like this
Okay.
is great. Also, they sent 3 copies of this as proof.
Okay.
So I do have multiple chances to fold it.
Yeah.
The anywhere that's white looks really good. Some of the grays look good. The screen tones. The only thing is that I think some of the placement might need to be changed, and the moire pattern of some squares is coming through on every panel. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Yeah.
Hunky, flip
So,
it right side up.
well, some of them
Oh,
are right
okay.
side
Sorry.
up. Some
Yeah.
the
Sorry,
way
I
that
didn't
it's
see the
folded.
left side. Yeah. I gotcha. I can't see the squares through here, but I believe you that it's likely
I can
there.
see them in the darker mid-tone areas, like in this there, and on your face and my face,
Okay.
and in our faces again. You kind of see that square pattern kind of trying to repeat. It's not
I got
super distracting, but I might can go back in and reduce the DPI of the tone, and that should clear it out.
Okay.
The only thing is that's going to be kind of a gamble because I don't know if they'll send a free extra proof, and then that's more time we have to wait on it. But I'm going to fold it and see how it looks. And then like this bottom panel is obviously too close to the bottom, which
Oh, I
I
see.
couldn't see that when the margin was cut off. It just looked
Right.
cut. It just looked perfect to the other one up here. So
Yeah.
but just some minor adjustments like that I can make. But yeah, the color looks really good.
It does
Very
look good.
vibrant, vibrant purple and orange. The way you see it on this camera is pretty much how it looks in person. Maybe just a little darker, but like it's a very very vivid. And the detail is all there. The lines look really good, so I'm pretty happy with it. Just a few minor adjustments.
Yeah. That'd be
What do
fine.
you?
Yeah. I'd say I can't see those little square things if it's possible to adjust that a little bit. And then I had noticed with the like you had shown the bottom part, like the getting really
Margin?
close. Yeah, the
Yeah,
margin with that one as well as the back cover, I'd noticed that. But if that's
yeah.
tweaked just a little bit, I think it's good to go.
Dang. Yeah, your face gets really cut off there, on there. I need to move you. I need to move you up a little bit. Um, I want the front cover and the back cover to stretch into the bleed area. That way they
Yeah.
take up both the entirety of the front and back. But yeah, I'll see how that looks when I fold it, and I'll go back and make these adjustments.
Yeah.
I'm glad
That
we got
sounds
a
good.
proof.
Oh yeah.
It was $20 for 3 sheets of paper, but it's going to be worth it when you have 1,000
Yeah.
copies.
If we're buying bulk, like buying 1,000, it's a lot better to pay $20 to make sure we fix all the little things rather than get 1,000 copies and have the little things. And ultimately, it won't like hurt us if there were the little issues and stuff. But it's like we'd then be thinking like, oh, if only we had tweaked that a little bit or whatever. Like a reader wouldn't pay attention to it, but it'd be in our head of like, it's
Yeah,
there.
there's just little perfectionist things that
Hmm
can eat away at you.
hmm
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of things that go unnoticed, and sometimes it's a good thing if you can handle it yourself about it. You know, being really just obscure in the grand scheme of your comic. Um, go for it, because
Yeah.
a lot of uh, you want quality, but you also want to have a good timely manner with your products
Yeah.
for comic, because it's a big, if it's a long story, you got a long ways to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those things where um, definitely put your all into it, whether it's making everything just right. But at some point, there has to be a point in your head of and this isn't like bashing the creator, but at some point you got to be like, okay, this is good enough for me. If it's good enough for me, it's great for everyone else, because you're your biggest critic. You notice all
Hmm.
the little things here and there that other people don't. The one exception I'd say to that is, I'd say other creators, if they've made comics and stuff, they might possibly see some of that stuff just because
Yes,
they know all the little stuff. But
and
but even then, they understand what all it takes to make this stuff, to where they can look past it, or they're lost in appreciating, like, hey, this person did this or made this, to where they don't notice. So
yeah, um, and some things are subjective from
yeah, yeah,
critique to critique, and uh, so it's like you want to listen to feedback, but you also gonna have to cherry pick what you think is going to be like beneficial to your
yeah.
overall your own theme and aesthetic that you might be trying to accomplish.
Oh yeah,
You
100%.
know.
Listen to feedback, but that doesn't mean you have to apply all feedback. I recommend people listen to the feedback, but it's your choice of whether you want to apply it or not. Because sometimes it can be good feedback that can be applicable. Sometimes you may disagree. Now, it's one of those things, if multiple people are saying the same thing, that's when you got to really start thinking about it. But if
Hmm.
it's just one person saying this thing and no one else is noticing or saying the same thing, decide from there.
That's right. Speaking of subjective thoughts and opinions, um, Brandon, you have now read Envy 1 and 2. Do you want to go over those your thoughts on my comic? Uh,
I'll first
mhm.
mention, I had sent Austin this text. I meant to send him like the night I sent Austin a text saying, "Hey, I just finished Envy one and two." I meant to send him this image and this text the same night, but I forgot to do it. As I was reading, I saw an image of Envy, and there's God. Like, I understood like the context of the story, but I had to take a picture. It did make me laugh. And I sent Austin. I said, "When Envy walks by me," and then I showed the image. Yeah, but
I, when you're lettering your sound effects and stuff, um, there's a lot of instances where I end up using words like gasp or
mhm.
step or some, because I just can't I can't make the sound in my head like what it sounds like, but sometimes I can, and it was just kind of a crossover of like what I hear in my head,
Yeah, yeah,
like like
yeah. Oh
that,
yeah, I
but
knew what you meant. Yeah.
but it's also this um Urban Dictionary lingo
Yeah,
kind of
it's
of the day right
this
now.
Gen Alpha slang for
Mhm.
a nice butt.
Yep.
But oh, I got a hair in my mouth. Um, no, but yeah, I enjoyed both issues. I read through them. The only thing I'd mentioned to Austin when I texted him was I had read the webtoon back in late, when was that? Late
A year ago, probably because
2023.
because we
Yeah,
started
yeah.
the podcast around the
It's
time that you read it.
around October, November. I had looked at that, and I like the webtoon. I like this comic form a lot more because I see like how much Austin has put into it, and I see that like this linear path that he is taking with it, which there was a linear path in the webtoon, but there were also the anthology snippets here and there
Mhm.
that I did like, and with this, with having read the webtoon, this also felt new to me. A lot of this did feel new to me because you did change some story stuff. You did change some story beats and different stuff like that. So it's like, okay, I don't know where this is going. This person actually died before, but now it's this person sort of thing.
Mhm.
So no, it's very good. Austin did a great job. I am looking forward to seeing issue number 3. It's really good.
All right. Thank you.
Let me close my camera for a second. I think
Okay.
this hair is still in my mouth.
Okay. Hair in my mouth, boom, boom, boom. Hair in my mouth, boom, boom, boom. Well, filling the empty space, much like the hair in Brandon's teeth, I'm going to go on with. Hopefully, I will get an interview with Stephen Vaughn here soon, and with Timothy. I was I was thinking Philip, but Stephen and Timothy are some people that I set up interviews prior when I was launched the Kickstarter, and I wanted to still follow up with them on an interview to do talk about Envy and plans and stuff going forward. Also, Envy issue number 3 has been updated on Substack this morning. I do need to post that in the other areas, but I'm gonna take a look real quick. Somebody's asking if Envy is on Webtoons, a comic. One of my first comments I've ever had uh, on uh, Substack. My very first comment. So
Sorry about that. I was really whenever I was talking, it kept going further and further back in my mouth. To where it was like tickling my throat, and I was like, I have to get this. This is annoying me right now.
I don't know how one of my hairs got to Navarre Beach. Because your hair does not seem to be long enough to fish into your throat.
I think like a few minutes ago, I'd like scratched my head, and as I was doing that, I was talking with like an open mouth, and so it like I talked and must have inhaled as a hair fell or something. I don't know.
That is
or
crazy.
that or one of Austin's hairs was in Envy number 1 or 2 when he shipped it.
That actually sounds more plausible if you ask me.
So if that's the case, Envy number 1 and 2 bad.
No,
it's a good comment.
For real, I think a lot of I have to put together, as an indie creator, Brandon knows when you have your new shipment of comics, you got to bag and board them. You got to take the slips off of them. You got to unpack and separate them. And I would not be surprised if there's a good chunk of comics that have gotten my hair into the bag and board.
Yeah, you just include it. You're like, do your own little ritual with my hair.
Yeah, so people are going to clone me in the future. um, I was just going over. I'm planning on having a follow up, like not follow up, but I am following up with Timothy Flip. I want to say that does some comic reviews, um, and Stephen Vaughn that does comic reviews, and doing an interview with them from when I talked to them in my Kickstarter phase, and they had some situations come up where they couldn't do it. So those have been postponed, and they have not yet been rescheduled. But I plan on getting in touch with them again to have that started. And issue number 3 has been updated uh, with the first update on Substack, and
Nice.
later today I'll be releasing that on other social media platforms, and then putting it up on the website tomorrow. And I have an organic comment on Substack. Somebody asking if it is on Webtoons.
Oh, there you go.
So uh, that has been Substack has been a pretty great platform, um, just to have some, you get a mailing list and people sign up for it. Now you got them by the collar.
Yeah, yeah.
So, uh, great audience building tool there.
Yeah, it's so much
Um,
better than what I'm doing now. What I did last night was email all the people that I've kept their email of, and it's like 7 days till yeah. Like I had like this thing that I copy and pasted
mhm.
and pasted on to everyone. Then I had to copy and paste the subject header and all that, and I did that like 100+ times, sort of thing. Whereas
Dang,
if
you
I had a
can't do a mass
Substack,
email.
I don't want to have everyone's
Oh,
email address
email.
together to where
So
they can see each other's emails.
I gotcha.
I'd rather bombard them with my problem rather than bombard them with my problem and also be like, "Ooh, I know this person's email. I could do something with that."
All right, that's understandable. No doxing
Yeah, yeah,
in Dismay Comics, ethical indie comics over here.
yes. But I will get a Substack within the next month, and I won't put all those hundreds of people's names into the Substack. What I'll just do is like going forward with like the Kickstarter and the backer
No,
survey. I'll
dude,
just say, hey,
I'd so take advantage. You're
the
along with the
backer
right.
survey. I'll
Well,
put
they
like,
if they've
do you
given
want to
you
subscribe or not, sort of
if
thing.
they have given you money or signed up in some other method, they already have interest in you as an audience. I would just take that as like you're on the mailing list now.
Yeah, I'll think
There's an
about it.
easy
I'll do the
unsubscribe.
okay. Yeah, I might do that. If they can unsubscribe, I might do that.
When you send out a Substack email, there's an unsubscribe button at the very bottom. It's in small print. It's not they don't make it super noticeable, but it is there, and it's
Yeah,
super
yeah.
easy to click and go unsubscribe.
Okay, I might
Um,
do that. But yeah, I'm going to do that just so I'm not spending hour and a half to 2 hours copy and pasting and sending each email. It'll just be a 5 to 10 minute thing, and everyone gets it. I
mhm.
like that a lot more.
All right, so you have watched The Crow. I have not, and I don't plan on
Well, I was about
it.
to say, don't. I originally wasn't going to. I wasn't interested whenever the trailers came out. So not that I thought it was bad when the trailers came out. I was just like, I'm not really interested. Then it comes out, it gets really bad reviews, and I'm even more not interested. And then Tio, the buddy I do another podcast with, was like, I'm going to go see The Crow sometime. And I was like, I thought in my head, I didn't say it to him, but I was like, well, if he's going to go see it, I should probably go see it because we could probably do a topic on it. We could probably discuss it. And so I went to an AMC. I made sure to use all my stub member points and stuff like that to get the ticket down to like $6 sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm not paying no $12 for this movie. So wound up paying like $6, and even then, it's a waste of money. Like I'll first say this. It is, of the movies I've seen this year. I haven't seen Borderlands. I haven't seen that. Of the movies I've seen this year, it's the worst movie I've seen this year. Is it the worst movie ever? Heck no. There are so many more awful movies, and I'm not saying this is awful. It is bad. The reason it's bad is it's just boring. That's the problem. It's forgettable / boring. Madam Web. Madam Web had #1 spot of worst movie of the year for me up until this. Madam Web was worst movie of the year. The reason it's better than The Crow is it is overall a bad movie. The plus side with Madam Web is it has 15 to 20 minutes of good bad. Like there are 15 to 20 minutes in that movie where it's like, this is so bad it's good. Like you're laughing at the filmmaker essentially. Like I know that's mean, but it's like, how did they not see this as like being awful or being funny?
Right.
Like there's 15 to 20 minutes of that are genuinely funny. They didn't mean for it to be funny, sort of thing. The Crow, it's just
I've heard the
boring.
opposite. I've heard it's bad, but it was a very fun bad. I've heard a lot of people have
I
fun
watched the
watching.
Moist Critical video
Yeah.
before I went to go watch it. I didn't watch all of it because I didn't want to hear too
Yeah.
much words. I watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes, and he was basically saying it was good bad, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna hype it up. I'm not gonna hype it up in my head before I go and be like, it's gonna be a good bad movie. I'm not gonna do that. But hey, maybe there might be something like that. Had no expectations going in. I went in and I agree with Charlie most of the time. This is the one time I gotta disagree. It's not a good bad movie. It's boring. It's ultimately boring. There's nitpick stuff that I didn't laugh at in terms of, oh, that's so bad it's good. There's nitpick stuff that I was like, that's weird or that's random. But it's not a lot. That's the thing. It's not a lot. Madam Web has a lot of that stuff where I can nitpick and be like, what the heck is going on here? This one, it's competently made is the thing. It overall looks like a high production movie. It's just very forgettable is the issue. The only redeeming thing it has, and it doesn't make up for the rest of the movie, is there's an opera fight. There's a 5-minute scene where he finally is the Crow. He's invincible sort of thing. And he's going and he's just killing all these bad guys. And it's linked up with like an opera that's happening. It switches back and forth. That scene overall is pretty good. I'm not going to say it's amazing or anything. There's people saying like, that's such an amazing scene. It's like, no. You think it's amazing because the first hour and a half was just so ugh. To where when this happens, it's like, holy crap, something's happening. like that's the reason you think it's amazing. It's a pretty good action scene. It's a pretty good action scene. What I recommend is just wait till it hits streaming or wait till someone illegally clips that and puts it on YouTube and just watch that clip. Watch the opera fight scene. You don't have to see any of the rest of the movie. If you're interested in seeing this, what I recommend, go watch the 94 movie. The Brandon Lee Crow movie. I rewatched that the next day. I hadn't seen that since high school. It's been 10 plus years since I've seen that. When I first saw it back in high school, I was like, yeah, it was okay. Like, I watch it now, it's good. I don't think it's great or amazing or anything like that. The 94 movie is good, though. It's a fun movie. It has character to it. There are distinct bad guys. Like, they're over the top. It was made in 94, but it feels like 80s type bad guys or like early 90s type bad guys which is interesting. And the movie has some cheesiness to it. The 94 movie definitely has some cheesiness to it. I think it adds to the movie, though. It kind of gives the movie some character, kind of. Um, whereas I can't say the same for this new Crow movie. It's the worst part about it is it's just forgettable. And that's why I think it's the worst movie of this year so far.
Whereas Madam Web was so bad it's not forgettable.
Madam Web, I don't think it's so bad it's good. There will be people that talk about that. There's 15 to 20 minutes of that movie that are so bad it's good, though. Where it's like, if you could clip those and watch those, it's extremely enjoyable.
Yeah.
Those 15 to 20 minutes. The rest is like, ugh. But yeah, I remember those 15 to 20 minutes of Madam Web. The Crow, I was a madman. I took notes in the theater because I was like, oh, Tio and I are going to talk about it. I want to write down some nitpick stuff as well as overall stuff. And yeah, the Crow, had I not taken notes and stuff, I would have forgot almost all of it. It's very forgettable.
Just to like wake up the next morning. Did I dream?
Well, that's the thing is like the main stuff I remember about that movie ties into the notes I took. If I try to recount other stuff, like if I tried really hard, maybe I could. But it's very forgettable. That Brandon Lee movie, as crazy and over the top some bad guys can be, and as cheesy as some points can be, I remember that stuff. That stuff is really memorable, and it works into this world that is being built in that movie. So just go watch the 94 movie again. Burn this movie. Don't waste your time with this movie.
You know, thinking of like reboots, that's kind of been my whole mentality about it. Granted, you know, there's a lot of there are some reboots that are better or good, but I've always thought that, you know, some things had had their pinnacle and they don't need it again. I am a huge franchise like hater now. I wish Star Wars would stop. I wish Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles would stop. I wish so many things would just stop. So make some room.
Well, yeah, you know? my big issue with franchise stuff. First, I'll mention like Crow. Help me come back to the franchise thing because I might get lost here. The Crow thing, I am okay with them making Crow movies because in the comics and stuff, like Eric Draven is just like that first series. The Crow idea, you can do multiple things with that because each one, like there's multiple different series where it's a new person, but that idea is still there. They are brought back to life through vengeance. Like justice needs to be served. They're brought back. The Crow is guiding them. And then once they exact their vengeance, then they can finally be at rest. They can finally spiritually be at rest, sort of thing. And that's nice. And they've done that with multiple different characters in the comics, and you can make that interesting and stuff. Issue with the 2024 movie is they used Eric again. They could have just used anyone.
Yeah.
They could have just done, hey, here's a new person. Even then, though, if it was a new person, if it was this movie that we got, it'd still be forgettable. It ultimately comes down to write a good movie. I say they're not going to do it anytime soon because this movie lost a lot of money and no one's going to want to put money into a Crow movie for a while. But I say if they want to do it again, try again in 10, 20 years or whatever, do that, but don't make it a big Hollywood blockbuster, forgettable sort of thing. Like make it a little more indie. Don't use Eric. Use a random character. You can make your own character. Also, that's another thing is like the Crow idea. If you're writing the movie, you can just create your own character. Now, ultimately, the Crow stuff is still the backdrop of Crow
Right.
brings you back to life and you're exacting revenge. You could just make your own character, and that can be interesting and stuff. But yeah, wait about 10, 20 years to do that. The Crow, because of the concept they have there, where this can work for anyone, that can work regarding franchise. I agree with the other franchise stuff. Star Wars, I
I
am
think
completely burnt out on now.
I want to add
Uh,
Ghostbusters to that list, by the way.
oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm going to sound like such a hater. Uh, I didn't grow up in the '80s, so this might play into it. The original Ghostbusters is entertaining. It's an entertaining movie. Maybe I'll say it's good. I don't know if it warrants all this franchise stuff
Hmm.
though. It's an entertaining good movie. People are going to hate me, especially the people that grew up in the '80s and just die over anything '80s. There's so much better '80s stuff in my opinion than Ghostbusters. Like there's great stuff and I mean Ghostbusters is an entertaining and good movie, but there's just better stuff in my opinion.
Hmm.
Um, Especially when you factor this thing got a franchise. Um, and that has had just like quality wise just slowly just went downhill sort of thing. Um,
It would be like
yeah.
people making more of movies about the thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
Like it
That's
would
yeah.
be, the thing was so good, and it was
Yes,
so
yes.
Star Wars was so good, and it was its own thing. It's Ghostbusters. I don't have an opinion on it. I watched it when I was like 10, maybe, and
Yeah, yeah.
but it was its own movie in its own
Yeah,
world
yeah.
that made a good story, and I want more movies that are their own, you
Yes.
know, in their own
Not
right,
IP
good.
or even if it is IP, it's like based off of a book or based off of a comic or whatever, but there's no prequels or sequel
Hmm.
movies or TV shows or whatever. It's just here it is. The mass audience, this is the first time they're hearing about this thing. Yeah, I just want I that's why I go to see stuff like Strange Darling that makes maybe less than $2 million in the box office because no one knows about it because it gets outshined in terms of marketing by stuff like Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
uh, The Crow. Even though it didn't get great marketing, it came out around I think came out the same weekend as Strange Darling. Um, yeah, it's ultimately, I completely agree. I am so
Yeah.
tired of franchise stuff. Franchise stuff can be
And
good, but like almost none of it is ever almost no franchise stuff ever really makes like my top 50 like movie list sort of thing where it's like this is something that's like great or like
yeah.
I'm going to remember this for a really long time. It's going to impact me. In terms of franchise stuff, there are stuff like that. A New Hope, Star Wars: A New Hope. That's my personal favorite Star Wars movie. Um, I still really like that movie. It has impacted me with sci-fi and stuff. But yeah, like Star Wars, for example, I'm completely burnt out on Star Wars because we've just been given too much in such little time. It just oversaturates it, and it oversaturates it, and you have so much to where you can't do quality control. And I'm not saying all the stuff that has come out the past 5 to 10 years is bad. There are some good stuff. There's even some
Hmm.
great stuff. But how much better could some of that stuff be if it was the central focus of that year or the
Yeah.
past few years for Lucasfilm, sort of thing?
Yeah. And I know that this is coming off the heels of me giving Alien Romulus some praise, but Alien Romulus was just kind of a copy of Alien, 1, and
It
even then
pulled
it
stuff from
didn't.
all the movies, sort of
Right.
thing. Yeah.
But even then it didn't hit the just the sheer, like, shininess and newness and spectacle and fear and everything that the first Alien did. Like,
Yes, exactly. Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's very rare for sequels or future movies or reboots to live up to the first movie. And they're not always trying to do that, but it's one of those things where it's like, if it's ultimately the reason they do it is because it's guaranteed money. It's an IP, and it's like, yeah, we'll at least get this much because this much nerds or people. I'm not bashing it.
Mhm.
Nerds is a good word these days compared to 30 years ago. These nerds want to go watch this thing because they grew up on it, sort of thing. Nostalgia. We'll make this much money. But yeah, quality wise, it's very rare, very, very rare for a sequel to be better than the original, or a reboot to be better.
Mhm. And
That's a tougher one. I'm trying to think. Is there a reboot that is better than the original?
Hulk, the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think the 2008 Incredible Hulk was
I'd agree.
leaps and bounds better than that first Hulk. And
Yeah.
I also think that it wasn't bad. I think a lot of people thought that
No,
it was
no,
a
that's not a bad
terrible,
movie at all.
it, you know, I've heard a lot of criticism from that Hulk, but I'm like, it's like Alien versus Predator to me. It's like the sheer, like, it's everything I wanted at a Hulk. To like, I
Yeah,
wanted him to
yeah.
go beat up something that was bigger and badder than him, and do it in. And he had to like
Does the
use
clap?
clap
Does the
weight.
thunder clap? Yeah, yeah.
He had to stomp on the ground and create kind of a earthquake kind of thing. He had to like even kind of outwit his opponent,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then also try to outstrength him. And I just felt that was pretty compelling. That was a really fun watch, and he did everything that I wanted a Hulk to do. Now, same thing with Alien versus Predator. I think, you know, let's take Alien kind of more outside of the horror, and then and put him into the action with Predator, and now you've got a whole bed of opportunity with that idea.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know in retrospect, Alien versus Predator isn't as good. There's a lot of like, why would they come back to this pyramid? There's a whole lot of like like contriving this like plot to try and
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
But I did get to see Alien and Predator duke it out.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
all use their tools, their weapons, the acid blood, the chomper. Alien won sometimes. Predator had to win sometime.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
were multiple Predators, and uh, that was fun. And so I can see how taking an IP and twisting it that way for something offshoot is a whole different like place for something new to happen.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, um,
I would say though, regarding reboots, I'd say Incredible Hulk. That pretty much is a reboot. Um, yeah, that's better than the Hulk. But like the past 30 years in terms of reboots, because that the initial thing I had said was sequels. How often do sequels? But
mhm.
things did come to mind. Captain America: Winter Soldier, I think, is better than the first Avenger.
Terminator 2.
The Dark Knight is
Yeah.
like one of the best movies. It's definitely better than Batman Begins. Terminator 2 compared to Terminator 1. So sequels can do that. It's not often though. I will say that. It's like rare. It's maybe 1 out of 20 sequels, sort of
But
thing.
here's the thing is they're putting these situations into something new, and not to mention movies like that are comic based, into which it's introducing new. The comic series itself has
It
different
keeps
writers,
going.
different
Yeah,
things
yeah,
happening. I'm also not a huge fan of that. I do
yeah, yeah.
wish some things like that would. The newest Batman reboot, the new The Batman, I think that is a really, really good movie. I would put it on
Yeah, it's
par
good.
with the other Batman movies, and if not better, because you see a character arc in that Batman, and you see it much more organically, and you see it uh, the way that it was shot. Everything was just really, really good. Um, but I'm also just kind of like, now can we put that on something else other than Batman?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Well, I mean, like even it was good that the Batman was a good movie, but even at that point, a lot of people were like, "Can we get something else?" Like we've
Right.
seen so much Batman,
Because I
especially
didn't put a
if
whole
you're a
lot of stock
comic
into it.
fan. If you're a comic fan, you definitely have seen a lot of
Hmm.
Batman. That's all DC has published the past 30
Hmm.
plus years. Since the 90s, DC has went all in on Batman. Like, they got 4 plus titles going at once featuring him or characters dealing with him, whether it's a Robin, a Nightwing, a Joker, Harley Quinn, whatever. That's its own universe basically in the DC universe. Is all the Batman books and all the Batman titles and all the mini series going on at the same time. If you're a comic fan, you're exhausted of Batman. Um, but yeah, comics are a whole nother thing. Because yeah, if we do want to complain about like sequels and stuff like that, comics are the ones that are really doing it the worst.
Yeah.
If all these movie fans that hate the sequel, or not, don't hate sequels, just like, can we do something else? Can we move
Hmm.
this along? Can we do something else? If they turn to comics, they'd be like, oh my gosh, this is so much worse than
And
what's
it's a
happening in the
strange thing.
cinema.
You know, I think it really does come down to somebody doing doing justice and also being a good writer to
Yeah, yeah.
have a different spin on things. Because, you know, there's like all these Spider-Man movies. Well, Into the Spider-Verse is a whole new ballpark that is also very fun and entertaining to
Yeah,
watch.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's like, where do we draw the line for, like, well, we want this to be new and fun, but everybody's also here, like, let's say you know, Captain America the Falcon
Mhm.
is, you know, now in his place. It's like, this feels kind of exhausted. Also, where's my Captain America? You know, but at that point, it's just kind of like, let's end it here. Actually, let's
Mhm.
just not keep going with it. Uh,
With the Falcon thing, that's a little bit different to me. To that one, I honestly prefer it. Rarely happens in comics, but I'm glad they at least kind of do it with the movies.
mhm.
I prefer the aspect of legacy. There's a
Yeah.
legacy to this character, and once this person dies, this mortal, even though they are a super soldier or they're a superhero or they have godlike powers or whatever,
Hmm.
they eventually die. And that name that they carries such like power to it that like something has to happen with it in terms of that world, whether it's a
Hmm.
bad guy picks up that moniker or a good guy picks up that moniker, someone's going to pick it up because there's a vacuum that needs to be filled in that world.
Yeah.
To
And it's
where
more
like
fun if
something.
it's a passing of the torch, like
Yeah, yeah, and
if
that,
it's kind of
like with,
intended.
exactly, like with Falcon, it's a passing of the torch sort of thing, and I, when it comes to superhero stuff, I'm completely okay with the legacy thing because you had this superhero. It just feels more real as well, where it's
Right.
like you have this superhero, they're doing it, and then they retire or they die or whatever, and then it goes to the next person. Feels more real compared to if you're reading comics. Comics are extremely cyclical, where it's just okay, 5 years, and then there's a little change. But we can't upset people too much. We'll have that change for a couple years, then we'll recorrect it. We'll go back to what we did 5 years ago.
Hmm.
Comics keeps doing that to where they don't stick with these changes they make. They always redo them, or the next writer redoes them, or something. Um, Whereas with these movies, Downside is we have the whole multiverse thing, so anyone could undo all of this legacy sort of stuff. But with these movies, you can have a passing of the torch. But do people want that? Because there's people that have complained about some of the movies the past few years. Now, not all of them are good. Don't get me wrong. The past, like in terms of Marvel, the past few years, it's hit or miss for me. It's like a 50-50 thing. The ones that are good, though, people are
So
don't really care about or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I like Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi felt very different for a Marvel movie, and that's what I needed. I needed something that felt different. And it's one of those things where it's like, ooh, like in my head, it's like, okay, this is a new Avenger character eventually. He will fit in a role in the Avengers when Robert Downey Jr. or Steve Rogers or whoever exits the Avengers, he'll be able to not take their place, but there's a role that needs to be played in it, sort of thing. It felt like that's what they were doing the past few years, but there's been a ton of negative press and negative criticism on sort of this stuff, to where I'm worried with the multiverse stuff that they'll be like, no, the characters you like, they're back. Steve Rogers, he's back. Iron Man, he's back.
Chris Evans is like, yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. I want to see
till you're
these
90
new Avengers and stuff, but I'm worried they're going to pander to people that just want to see the old stuff.
Yeah,
I'm worried about that, because comics does that.
And there's super fans.
Yeah.
There's people that have almost this superpower of interest in one particular franchise or something, that will give every bit of their money to it. And that's what makes like free to play games thrive, is just trying to broadcast to the millions. I watched a video here recently about these online ads for games that is like just massive, just it's false. The stupid like shooting like the walls and like getting
I see
down
that
to
all
one
the time
bullet.
on TikTok.
then
Here's the thing. Does anyone have that actual game? Because I would love to play that game.
Let me tell you. So you want that game, right? So you download it, and then it's like it's not that game at all.
Yeah,
It's this
exactly.
weird RTS role play resource game. That game is technically somewhere in it as a side game.
Yeah. No,
it's very hidden.
There definitely is a game or developer that made that game. That is the game. You just keep doing that. You shoot the thing, multiply your guys, get the guns and all that stuff, and you keep going as long as you can, and then eventually you die. And then you restart. It just does that. There's someone out there that has just that game. If you have just that game, please let me know. Because your game, it's not like an amazing concept, but it's like, that's a fun little time killer.
Yeah.
And it also keeps your brain active, because whether you know it or not, you're doing
quick math.
Yeah, you're doing quick math. So it's keeping your brain active. Yeah, your game is being out marketed by all these bull crap games that like come from these foreign markets that they don't care about the game. It's just like, let's get as much money as we can through our ads and stuff. So if you have that, please let me know. I really want to
play. The thing is, people won't make the money off of that. That's why that game doesn't really exist, is because it won't make money for them like these other games will, because that's the juice to these games. Is okay, so 10 million people download it. All right, well, 1 million people spend a little bit of money on it, and then 1,000 people put their life savings into it.
Mhm.
You know, they just keep spending thousands and thousands on it. And that's where these companies want this game to end up is people, the people that do stick around are just pouring everything they have into it,
Yeah.
you know, and and I feel like that might be the market of some of these franchises where they don't care if it's, if 1,000 people, a million people spend a little bit of money on it or don't care anymore. There's another 3 million people that are like, I don't want to watch that movie. It's so
Yeah. Yeah.
that franchise is so done. What they do care about is the 500,000 people that want to give all their money to it and
Yeah.
watch it 4 or 5 times in the theater, or get the products, the toys, the extras, the posters, the this and that that will spend money on it. And I wonder if that's what the model is
That ultimately
leaning to.
is, I mean, that's ultimately what I'm seeing regarding like Star Wars, for example, is like I'm not the only one that's dropped off. I'm not saying I'm a Star Wars hater by any means. There's Star Wars stuff I like. It's just I don't care enough to keep up when a show comes out,
Mm-hmm.
when a new movie comes out anymore, because we've had so much of it to where I'm just burnt out. It's like I still really want to see Andor. I've heard great things about Andor. I will get to it when I can. I still really want to see it though. Like of the recent Star Wars stuff, that seems like the thing I'm most interested in. Um, but yeah, it's no longer, oh, I gotta watch it the day it released, or I gotta
Yeah,
keep up each week. It's I don't have
me
that care for it anymore.
as a Warcraft fan, I have a little Sylvanas statue. I have years and years and years of my subscription put into the game at $15 a month.
Mhm.
I have T-shirts. I went and saw the Warcraft movie, I think 3 or 4 times in theaters. Um, I didn't buy. I did not like the idea of buying the mounts and the store shop things that they
Mhm.
put out. I didn't like the idea of that because I was already paying money for the game, and then I was paying money on a subscription for it. I was like, I'm giving you money. Everything should be available through the gameplay. Um, and the more that they kept doing that, they had this thing come out that I thought was just awesome. So last expansion pack, they had the trade post come out, and they had exclusive things up available for a month, and you could do gameplay stuff to get tokens or tenders that would buy these exclusive things that were out for a month. Well, um, they started reducing your limit to the tenders that you could have, or they started increasing the price of the trade post items,
Yeah, yeah.
something like that. And um, what that was doing is that they were giving you an incentive to buy. They had released this kind of, it was a soft pack. It was like you could spend money on this thing, you get this cosmetic, and you get some extra tenders to spend on the trader's post. And I was like, I see where this is going, and I hate you for it. You introduce this awesome system where you get cool cosmetics. These are all just cosmetic things. And as a role play character, person that wanted my character to have interesting things that I could play with and role play and make or have as a prop or something. This was awesome, and you're
Yeah.
ruining it. And you're trying to hide that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was one of the nails in the coffin where I said I'm quitting WoW. Um, a lot of it was to do with the direction of the story and the role play, and me starting all this comic business stuff. But their the way they would try to be sneaky about their their monetization, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm already spending money. I've spent, probably well over $1,000 by now
Oh yeah.
on Warcraft. I don't want to. I don't want you to be trying to manipulate me into spending more. So,
Because it's still the monthly subscription
mhm.
way of doing it. Yeah, if it's one of those things where it's monthly subscription, like my personal thing with is most everything should be available if it's a monthly subscription type game. Um, there can be stuff here and there, but if it's monthly subscription, where at the end of the day, because most monthly subscription games are $10 to $20, um, if you're paying over $120 a year for your game developer, just give them the keys to the castle, sort of thing.
Mhm.
It's like you're making so much more money, and if you keep doing the little expansions and stuff like that, that you keep them in, you keep those hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people in, and you're just going to keep making money and making money.
And if I feel like if I feel like it's justified,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, I swapped over to Final Fantasy for a year or two. Um,
Mhm.
the Final Fantasy 14 kind of WoW clone.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, and they chock you full of story, they chock you full of cosmetics. The roleplay community is awesome. The story is great, and you are just inundated with uh, just tons and tons of content. The story has so many cutscenes and so much dialogue. It took me a year to get through it. There was no skipping it. There was no moving, bypassing it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, as I went leveled up, I did the story mode, and it was, it is optional,
Mhm.
but you do get into it. They do a good job of writing, and it lasted me a whole year of just entertainment. Like, I
Yeah,
would come
yeah,
home, start the story, there was cutscenes and dialogue and story and stuff, and I was not going slow about it.
yeah, yeah,
Like, I wasn't going at a snail's pace and reading every single little thing, and it
yeah,
still took me forever to get through every expansion pack. And it's just it's probably 300 hours, 400 hours of story. It was ridiculous. um and then they have a shop, but everything is like $5, $3,
yeah, yeah,
$10 bundles. And I felt like it was justified that, I could spend a little money to have this, little umbrella for my character, because,
yeah, yeah,
it'll fit her theme, her thing, so uh it didn't feel sneaky. They weren't
yeah, yeah,
trying to like coax me into it. They didn't take away anything from the game experience or the visuals of the other. Like, there's still a lot of in-game cosmetics that you can get that look awesome, that look way better, or more interesting
yeah,
than the store-bought stuff. And that's not the case for a lot of that's not the case for WoW. It's not the case for free to play, which free to play makes more sense. But for WoW, that's more egregious, because you want your in-game stuff to look as good as the store stuff, because you earned it through playing the game,
yeah,
not
yeah.
through buying it. So, but anyways, that was a tangent. Um, but that's what I think the model is trying to appeal to whales that will buy in to your franchise. And ultimately, that's kind of what we want to happen, is to have a few people that want to be super fans
Yeah,
for
yeah,
us.
yeah.
But
With that though, we have more than just the one world that we're crafting.
mhm,
Like with you, you have envy, but you've talked to me about the other ideas that you want to do one day. You want to build the fan base for the thing that you have, whether it's for me like Gallows Man or something like that. But then it's also cool for people to see what else I have, what else I can
mhm.
do. Like with you, when you have those other things happen, you want them to check out like, hey, this is also what I have. I think that's a little bit different than the some of the franchise stuff because the comparison would be this. Let's say you stick with envy and that's all you do for the next 20 years.
Mhm.
You do Envy, you wrap that up, then you do an Envy prequel series, then you do an Envy sequel series, then you do another sequel series, and you have all these series because it's one thing if Envy the story itself is
Yeah.
50 issues, like you do 1 to 50 issues in 20 years. That's completely fine. And prequel series and sequel series, those are fine as well. But if it was the route of like, okay, Envy is a 10 issue series, and then I have this 15 issue prequel series, then this 4 issue sequel series, then this series, then this series, that's where it feels like the modern day route where it's like, here's the same thing you know. We're not doing anything else. This is what you know. And here's the prequel of it, or
Right.
here's the sequel of it. Or
Well,
now, so
again,
much time has passed, here's a reboot of Envy.
it depends too on the writer on what they're doing with it because
Yeah, yeah.
um, Red Dead Redemption, uh, Red Dead Redemption One is way different than Red Dead Revolver.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and in a lot of aspects, I don't know what Red Dead Revolver did. I don't know if it was just a fun shoot 'em up game or if it had some
Yeah, yeah.
intense story, but it was different. So I can't say better or worse, but Red Dead Redemption 2 is way better than Red Dead Redemption 1.
Right, right.
Um, you know, for the most part in different ways.
Yeah, different aspect.
So it's oh, it's hard to draw a line cuz like, in let's say another 5 or 6 years they make another Red Dead Redemption.
Mhm.
I will probably get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe after that I'll probably be like, I don't want to do any more Western stuff, or I
Yeah,
don't want
yeah.
to do any more Red, you know, Red Dead Redemption. I think it had its time. Um, so it's really hard to say where. To me, the line is still a little fuzzy on
Oh, yeah, yeah.
depending, you know, depending on writer and depending on quality and
It
who
ultimately comes
introduces what.
down to, like, who are the creators, whether it's movie, TV show, video game, whatever it may be, regarding a sequel or regarding a reboot. Because there can be the occasion, like with sequels, there can be the occasion more often than a reboot where sequel's really good. The
Yeah,
sequel is
but
better
let's
than the
say
first.
here's a good example. So let's say I do Envy. Let's say I did Envy for, you know, 20 or 30 years. I made Envy the story as a whole and maybe some anthologies or some bits and pieces to Envy. And I really created a chunk of universe around it. I give up my IP rights or die or something, and somebody else gets Envy. Now they're not relying on the writing, they're relying on my audience that I built
Yeah, yeah.
based off my style or what I've done, and now they're going to try and use the Envy name to be something, to to promote whatever they're doing just to make money or something, um, that could be more of the situation that's happening, um, in regards to IPs, because somebody
Yeah,
could get
yeah.
it and do it justice. They could be like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
well, I know the ins and outs of this universe, and I'm so familiar and inspired by that style. I'll also be able to do something different because I'm a different person, and I'll make it
Yeah, yeah.
interesting in different ways. um, that could be the case. But there's also the flip side case where they're like, I just want to use Envy as the big title, and then whatever, and do some subpar writing, and
Yeah.
the people that just love Envy are gonna buy Envy stuff.
I think for me, more often than not, it's usually the latter case there, where it is we have this property and we'll do whatever. I'm not saying that first can't happen. That first
Mm-hmm.
does happen. I've seen that happen. I see it with I don't read a lot of Marvel, but with DC, I see that happen with like Tom King, sometimes a divisive writer. I like a lot of his stuff, and some of his stuff, some of his best stuff are like 12 issue series on an obscure character or like a C-list type character within the world. Like he did a Visions book, like about Vision for Marvel, like really great book. He did one for Mister Miracle for DC, one of my favorite DC books. He's done all these different things for these characters that you knew and stuff, and haven't really had a spotlight on in years, if not decades, sort of thing. But he makes them, and it revitalizes the character slash like this is the best thing of that character, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, so that can happen, but it doesn't. If you're talking majority wise, majority of times the sequel gets made or a reboot gets made, and it's subpar or lesser. That's majority of the times. Sometimes a sequel or reboot can get made and it is better or as good as the first.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes though. And that's my issue with is majority of the time it is lesser.
Yeah, and also it not making room for a new idea to
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of flourish. I think that would have to be my biggest problem with all these franchises. Is a lot of them can be good. I think the latest Batman was great, and reboots. There's been good reboots and good
Yeah, yeah.
this and that, but I'm I'm so ready for a new era of creators and stuff, and that is a lot of the drive that is behind me making indie, and the stories that I plan on making. Is I just want something different on the market,
Well,
in good quality.
and we're not comics wellspring shills, and we've talked about how much issues we've had with comics wellspring, but what I'll say is I've seen this trailer many times through ads and stuff like that. There's a trailer where it's this comic slash cartoon guy, and he's watching a movie, and he's just kind of like bored watching the movie, just like and then there's some narration and stuff, and I'm paraphrasing the entire thing. It's a good, ultimately good trailer. As much issues as I've had with Comics Spring, it's a great trailer, and it sticks to the point you're talking about. It's watching a movie, it's boring, and then narrator's like, "Why don't you go do this? Try this story or whatever." And the narrator says, uh, "The most the entertaining thing or the non-boring thing that you want to see is what you can create. The comic you create, the movie you create, the show you create, the short film you create, whatever. It's what you want to see. it'll be one of the most entertaining things to you. And then if you enjoy it, if you show a passion in making it, it will attract other people to that thing. You make it for yourself and people will come, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, sorry, what you had said reminded me of that Comics Wellspring trailer.
That's what I'm getting at.
I'll give them that.
That's what I'm getting at, and you know, I hope that we are. You know, I think you're a great writer. I'm trying to be a better writer, and I hope that we can deliver on, you know, filling the space.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I am having a lot of fun doing this, and I'm having a ton of fun getting to network and go to conventions, and it's kind of a dream even this early in,
Yeah,
because you know, I used to see people at conventions and um, be like, man, I really wish that I would get on my butt and make some stuff and be here with them and uh, be able to, you know, be something new and meet people and get different ideas. It's just, you know, something I always wanted to do, and I'm finally doing it.
Oh yeah.
So
It's one of
it's been
those things
awesome.
that, like, at least with both of us, we it takes a while for you to finally, like, kick yourself in the butt and say, okay, I'm actually going to do it now. Like, I've thought about doing this thing for a while, whether it's making a short film, making a movie, writing a comic, whatever it may be. You think about it for a long time, but eventually you get the motivation or the push that's like, okay, I'm doing it now. No more talk. I'm doing it. And as controversial as this guy is, and as bad as a good bit of his actions can be, Shia LaBeouf, the classic video from like 2014, the "Just Do It." As corny as that video is, and as corny as people think that video is, I 100% agree with the message.
Yeah.
Like it was one of those things where back then I was like, oh, this is corny and stuff. But once you, like, when you're a creative, or not even a creative, you're just wanting to do something. You've thought about this thing for months, years, whatever. You've thought about it. And then when you actually, like, do it, you realize, like, all it took was just do it.
Yeah.
It's super corny, but that's what it is. What's holding you back is just like, no, just do it. Just go
Yeah.
and do it. If you got to learn the stuff, learn the stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
do that. Just do it. It's a lot. It's very corny to people, but I still love, like,
Yeah.
that video from back then, because as you move into life, as you actually just do it, you realize, like, no, that's all it takes. Like,
Yeah. You have to have
push
initiative,
yourself and actually do it.
and yeah, you have to start somewhere. And that's
Yeah.
that video was a lot of my inner thoughts about when somebody would ask me about my workout progress, like, how do you, like, I just can't do that, I can't do this, and oh, you have this or you have that, oh, you're young and you can do this, and or I have this condition that I can't. And in my brain, Shia LaBeouf is just going, just do it.
Exactly.
I've
had
have
like,
to refrain from yelling at people.
I the same instance with some younger people around my age that want to make a comic or make a short film or make a movie, that sort of thing. Um, I've had the same thought in my head. I've also had it with, like, older people. There's older, like, comic collectors, like people who have read my stuff, and you'll see them, like, you have possibly witnessed this, where someone comes up and it's like, oh, that's so awesome. Like, you made a comic. I always thought about doing that. I just don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I ever could or anything. And you're just thinking in your head, like, just do it. Like if you have the
What's
idea,
stopping
just
you?
do it. Like the only thing stopping you is you. Like
Mhm.
your motivation. That's the only thing stopping you. Like at the end of the day, yes, it costs time. But you navigate, you work it into your weekly schedule. It doesn't eat up all your time. You can still have
Mhm.
family time, you can still have job time, you can still have relaxation time, whether it's video games, movies, playing golf, whatever you do, relaxation time. You just fit it into your schedule.
Yeah,
Um, it's
because
not that hard. You just have to have the motivation. That's the hard part. You have to
mhm.
motivate yourself to just do it.
Because ultimately you have a kind of situation where you're like, do you want to golf more or do you want to comic more? You know,
And that's the
um,
thing. You will, if you have a weekly routine or a monthly routine, that will be adjusted. There will be some things taken out. I don't play video games anymore
mhm.
because when I started writing comics or got more serious into writing around like 2018, 2019, it ate up too much time.
Mhm.
Like to where I can put that time into writing instead and making comics to where I don't play video games that much anymore. And I'm not disparaging people that do play video games because my leisure thing is watching movies. I value watching movies more than playing video games. So it was one of
Mhm.
those things where it's like, okay, I'm going to keep doing this, but on the hierarchy of leisure stuff to do, what is at the bottom? At the bottom, it was video games. So I took video games out, put comic making there instead, sort of thing.
Mhm. Yep. All right, Brandon. Um, we have both watched Strange Darling, and
Yes.
I would like to just do a movie review on that. However, today um, we've run long on our podcast, which isn't like super long, but we've um, gone a little extra, and I've got some more things to wrap up. So we will get back soon and do a movie review on Strange Darling.
Yes.
It was an entertaining watch, so I want to go over that. Um, but I do appreciate you joining me today. Um, Gallows Man Kickstarter again, September 10th. Um, and that very likely could be going on at this moment that this is released. So go check that out. If it's not up yet, you just notify me on launch, and it's at Dismay Comics Instagram and Facebook. Is there any
Yep.
more that you want to mention real quick on
Um,
Gallows Man?
just any support helps. Uh, if you want physical books, digital books, all my other books will also be available as add-ons and stuff like that. So if you missed out on a previous thing, you can get it through add-ons. And the Kickstarter is the only way to get the books, unless you live in the South area that me and Austin live, and you catch
Mm-hmm.
me at a convention. The Kickstarter is the only way to get the books. I don't have a online shop or anything. So if you want the stuff or want to check it out,
Now's
Kickstarter
the
is the
time.
place to do it. September 10th to October 11th, that's your window.
All right, and I've been Austin Light with American Demon Comics, and you can find Envy over at Substack at American Demon Comics or my website at AmericanDemonComics.com. I'm also American Demon Comics on Instagram and Facebook, and I try to post updates on conventions and stuff like that, uh, and updates. So join us there and join us on YouTube here. Drop a subscribe and like, and we will be talking more about our processes and how we create and what inspires us and what moves us. So, uh, thank you for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Take care.